The man who followed me in the Appalachians. Ever been alone late at night and felt like the mountains were keeping secrets from you? Smash that subscribe button, because tonight I'm telling you about the night someone followed me deep in the Appalachian Mountains. A night that made me swear I'd never ride the bus again. This one still haunts me every time it snows. This happened when I was 17, living in a small Appalachian town in eastern Tennessee. The kind of place surrounded by thick pine forests and ridges that seem to go on forever. My dad worked at the local lumber mill, my mom at the diner. We weren't rich, but life was simple, quiet, sometimes too quiet. One thing about mountain towns, once the sun goes down, they feel completely deserted. The streets get swallowed up by darkness and the trees seem to lean closer, like they're listening. I'd started going to the rec center 3 or 4 times a week, lifting weights, trying to get in shape. It was my escape, a place where I could be around people, even if I didn't know them. The buses didn't run very often, especially on Sundays. That night, I'd stayed late at the gym, trying to finish my set. Snow had started falling as I stepped outside, swirling under the street lamps. I checked my phone. I'd just missed my bus by about 3 minutes. The next one wouldn't come for nearly an hour. I thought about calling my parents, but they were out visiting my aunt in the next county over. A taxi would have cost me more than the $20 in my wallet. So I decided to wait it out. The bus shelter was an old wooden structure at the edge of town, tucked beside a winding mountain road. It creaked whenever the wind blew through the gaps in the planks. Snow piled up in drifts around the shelter, turning the world white and silent. My breath hung in the air like smoke. I settled onto the bench, plugged in my earphones, and scrolled through music on my phone, anything to keep my mind off how cold it was getting. Time crawled by. My fingers were going numb, and I kept glancing up the road, hoping to see headlights. That's when I saw movement. At first, it was just a shadow moving between the trees across the road. I thought maybe it was a deer. There's plenty of wildlife up here. But then the shadow stepped out into the road, revealing a man bundled in layers of thick coats. A scarf covered half his face, but I could see dark, sunken eyes peeking out. He moved slowly, like every step took effort. The snow crunched beneath his boots, loud in the quiet night. Something about him made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I looked back down at my phone, pretending not to notice him. He finally reached the shelter and sat down at the far end of the bench, still staring straight at me. For a moment, neither of us said a word. Snowflakes clung to his hood. His breath came out ragged, white clouds disappearing into the dark. He shifted closer, his boots scraping across the wooden floor. Then he croaked out, "When's the bus coming?" I pulled out my earbuds, trying to sound casual. "Probably delayed. Snow's pretty heavy tonight." He didn't answer, just stared at me for a long time with glassy, unfocused eyes. Then he started mumbling under his breath, words I couldn't quite make out. Names, numbers, something about not losing him again. My skin crawled. I tried going back to my music, but after a few minutes, I realized he'd inched closer. Now, he was sitting only a couple feet away, staring at me like he was trying to remember my face. I shifted away and tried to act busy on my phone. Then I heard the bench creak again. He slid closer still. I swallowed hard and asked, "You okay there, man?" He didn't answer. Instead, he leaned in close, lifted his arm as if to touch me, and I smelled the sharp tang of sweat and stale alcohol. I felt my stomach twist. Instinct kicked in. I snatched up my backpack and bolted out of the shelter as he lurched toward me, stumbling forward and crashing face first into the snow. I sprinted down the road, my breath tearing at my throat. The snow was coming down in thick sheets, sticking to my hair and soaking my hoodie. I didn't stop running until I reached the next bus stop about half a mile away. My chest burned. My legs felt like lead. I leaned against the glass wall of the shelter, trying to catch my breath. The snow drummed softly on the roof. Just as I started to feel like maybe it was over, I heard it. Knock, 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 knock. I whipped around, and there he was. The same man. His scarf had slipped lower on his face, revealing pale skin stretched tight over sharp cheekbones. His eyes were wild, unfocused, snow clinging to his lashes. He stared at me through the glass. His breath fogged the window. "What the hell is wrong with you?" I yelled. He didn't answer. Instead, he started circling the shelter, muttering words I couldn't make out, like he was talking to someone who wasn't there. "I'm warning you, stay back," I shouted, backing away. I wanted to run, but my backpack was still sitting in the middle of the shelter, and I couldn't leave it behind. It had my phone, my ID, everything. Suddenly, the man lunged forward, shoving open the door. I dodged to the side just in time. He slipped on the icy floor and fell face first, hard enough that I heard a sickening crack. Blood spread across the snow. For a second, I just stared, frozen with shock. Then I forced myself to kneel beside him. He was groaning, barely conscious, blood running down his face. I tried shaking his shoulder, calling his name, but he didn't respond. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely dial my phone. I called 911 and tried to explain what had happened. The paramedics and police arrived within 15 minutes. Red and blue lights turned the snow into a flashing kaleidoscope. They loaded the man onto a stretcher. An officer pulled me aside. He told me the man was on prescription medication and might have been hallucinating. Then they found a battered leather wallet in his pocket. Inside was a photo, creased and faded, of the man standing next to a teenage boy. The boy looked almost exactly like me. One of the officers said the man had lost his son in a custody battle years earlier, and ever since, he'd been drifting from town to town, not always knowing where he was or who he was looking at. They took him away for treatment. I never saw him again. Not long afterward, I finally got my driver's license, and I haven't set foot on a bus since that night. Because in the Appalachian Mountains, sometimes the people who find you in the dark aren't strangers at all. They're looking for someone they've already lost. So, would you wait alone at a mountain bus stop at night? Or would you rather risk the snowy road on foot? Smash that subscribe button if you want more true Appalachian horror, and tell me in the comments if you've ever had someone follow you when you thought you were alone. Stay safe out there, and keep an eye on the shadows.